Just a little bit about the program. We work with men with children under the age of 2. We try to get the fathers as early as possible. I tease sometimes and said, I want to be right there as soon as the baby is made. I don't want to be the third party in it, but But that's how early we want the dads. That way we have the full 2 years to work with them. We don't provide any services, all right? We use different places like the Urban League and other places in the community to look for services. What we do is we sort of build men inside. We are not a Christian organization. We are a nonprofit. So we have not that they have since we all up here playing, it's a barrier. Sometimes when you're dealing with people that are not Christian, so sometimes they don't want to go to Christian organizations and look for help, all right? So we don't use that as a barrier for them. So the men that come into our program, they feel free. And what we do is that we do home visits, which is probably one of the most important things. A lot of the men in our program never had a dad. Majority of the young men in our program, dads were in prison, or some of these returning men that we are looking at and we're talking about. So they do not have some of the skills it takes to understand that, when you're a father, you have to put your children before you put yourself. Trust me, I have that conversation over and over and over in my head with my children and myself when I think about, do you know how much you cost me? Please understand, you are a Corvette, you are a bigger house, and and when you become a dad, you realize that. But a lot of the men we service haven't put that in their minds because for the whole of their life, they've been struggling, right? And now once you become a dad, it kind of pushes you back a little bit further. To give you a realistic idea of it, we work with primarily African-American men, but just like most organizations, we allow anyone that wants to be a part of the program come in. So when we're dealing with a dad, especially looking at work and getting into home building and things of that nature and skilled trade, a lot of our dads are sitting way back there in that corner chair when other dads are sitting right here at start. So what we try to do is close that gap internally with them and help them understand a lot of realities of life. Like one, you will have to probably work 10 times harder to get up to that level right there. And you're gonna have to do that unless you really run down to Lansing with me and change some laws. But most of them rather do that work. And I liken that too. I remember as a kid, I used to be one of the fastest runners with me and 2 cousins. And my brother would like to see us race. And I was the fastest, so he always made me start 3 squares behind them. As a competitor, and men that's what we are competitors. And I found out women like to compete too, right? It was fun at first because, I looked at it as a challenge to meet them at the same finish line, you know what I mean? But it was exhausting though. Did that make sense? It was exhausting that I had to start 2, 3 squares behind them to catch up with them. And by the time I caught up with them, if it was another race, guess who was gonna be further behind? Me, because I already had to run that much harder. So I try to prepare them to help them understand that you're gonna have to run that race. And once you have children, you can't quit, right? So we build them from the inside with our home visits. We help them work on some of those soft skills, some of those skills that they were never taught. We talk about home building. Majority of the men that I service in my community have no, some of the guys I work with, not in my program, but as friends, you go into their garages, they have garage full of tools. They have all type of different things. A lot of the guys I service, if you hand them a circular saw, they think it's gonna kill them. If you put it, I'm just being serious. It's like dealing with children almost. If you really want to service these men, you're gonna have to invest in them on the inside and understand it's not just housing, which is extremely important because we're dealing with a population of people, of men that never ever lived in their own house before. They went from their mom's house to baby mama's house. Do that make sense? Mm-hmm. So how do you feel when you walk into the house that you pay for every day? Even though it could be taxing, right? But that's your home, right? So now you're looking at a population of men that can't even get to a home as Stu has described, right? So you've already taken away that competitor and you chipping them down with little things like that. So you got to invest a little bit more into who he is inside, you know what I mean? And not hold barriers of what kind of religion he come from, where do he live, and different things of that nature. So we spend a lot of time building that person up on the inside, helping them. We more look like it as a mentorship type program, but we do help them with diapers. I do different things, like I order Legos, right? So when dad gets a crate of Legos, he has something to do with his kid. He can sit there and he can build something. You know what I mean? We do different things like that. We think sort of outside the box. I made sure, in fact, I just got a shipment last week of $20 toolboxes that I'm gonna give to each one of the dads in our program. We have 87 men in our program, because most of them never owned a wrench. Are you kidding me? And you wanna hire them? That was a joke. but you gotta have someone, you gotta understand this is what you're starting with, okay? And be patient with them. I wrote down something that this young lady here said, is that students need more care and patience. Well, when you're looking at a population of people that never had care and no one ever showed them any patience, you're pretty much starting with scratch with this person on the inside. So you have to have something a little extra to give him, give him more. We get to work with him until the children turn 2, but after 2, it's a drop off, right? It should be a stopgap in there where someone can work with them from age 2 until 5 years old. Help building up that confidence. It takes confidence to be a dad. It really does. It takes it. It's a difference between a father and a man in there. A man, you can you can fly up, take off, and do what you want to do. But when you're a dad, you gotta have some stability to the ground, right? So we try to help create some of that foundation, but we also would like to look at different ways to expand and fill up those gaps, and also strengthen those men so they can understand that, being a dad is a whole nother level of life.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.